Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Time for another segment of Everyday Enlightenment. And I want to share with you 7 ways to cleanse your crystals. And I want to share this because this is something that came up over the weekend on Sunday when I taught a Reiki Level 1 class. And I think it's just good basic information, especially since a lot of people are super interested in crystals and collecting crystals, and they're much easier to find now. So this is something that we talked about. And I think it's important to sort of help your crystals maintain their energetic, their energetic snazziness, if you will. So I want to share with you 7 ways that I know how to cleanse your crystals. And so first, I think it's important to cleanse your crystals anytime you get one. And so whether you're going to a metaphysical store and you're purchasing one there, or whether you're ordering one and it's coming into your, it's coming through the mail to you. And so it's been through a lot of energetic shifts. And so I think it's important to kind of bring it back around. I also think it's important to cleanse your crystals anytime you've used them in a crystal grid and you're breaking that grid down because they had a certain function in the crystal grid. And when you break that down, you just kind of want to help it reset. I think it's also important to cleanse your crystals when you've used them in a healing session with somebody else. Super important. And then also, I think it's good, there's so much crystal jewelry out there, which is amazing, but I think it's important to clear your crystal jewelry if you've been wearing it like nonstop, which is something that I do most of the time. So that's kind of why we're talking about this. So the first way I want to share with you about how to cleanse your crystals is sound. Sound is vibration. And crystals are, if you didn't know this, crystals are geometrically perfect at the anatomical level. And so when you introduce a sound vibration into a crystal, it helps it to reestablish its baseline frequency. So when you do a sound, and you can feel those reverberations, you kind of want to imagine that sound wave moving through the crystal and kind of helping it shake off any denser energies that it may have picked up and returning it to its unique homeostatic frequency. So you can use something like a singing bowl. You can also use a crystal singing bowl. And another thing that I don't have here, but you can also use tuning forks. And if you don't know what a tuning fork is, it has 2 prongs on the end, so you hit it and it vibrates, and you can just point that vibrating end to the crystal. So those are 2 ways that you can use sound to help to clear your crystal. Another way to cleanse your crystal is with smoke and with smudging. And so this is pretty commonly known now, but I'm going to cover it anyway. Smudging is the practice of using smoke to purify an object. So that object can be a crystal, it can be your body, it can be a space, anything. So since we're talking about crystals, I wanted to include this. And you can use different items to make the smoke. So sage is really popular to light and burn. I love Palo Santo, that's another one here that you can use. Incense is also another really good one. You can use cedar grass, frankincense, copal, the options are endless. But what you want to do is light one of the ends of one of these things on fire and then blow it out. And the smoke is what you want to use to cleanse the object. And so you want to gently wave the smoke over the crystal. And, it just smells so good. So the idea is that the smoke, which is physical, attaches itself to the denser energy around the crystal and helps to transmute it as the smoke turns from physical to non-physical. So we're just going to leave that lit because it smells really good. But smoke and smudging is another way to clear the crystals. So the third way I want to share about how to cleanse your crystals is with water. So water, clean water, it has naturally a very cleansing energy to it. And so just imagine after like a really good shower or after after you take a bath, or after getting out of the ocean. You feel energetically cleansed. And so that's the same thing that we want to do with our crystals. So you can run them under cold water, that's totally fine, but you can also put your crystal into a bowl of water. So I've got a couple here, and give it however long that you think you need to be in there, okay? And so just a note about the crystals. Some crystals are really soft, and you probably don't want to put them in water because either they'll disintegrate or they'll get scratched being in a bowl. So what you want to do is just check out, before you put your crystals in water or take them in the bath with you or any of that stuff, you want to check to see if they are a number 4 or higher on the Mohs hardness scale. That's MOHS. And because you don't want your crystal to disintegrate or just be so fragile that, it gets ruined in the water. But water is another way that you can use to cleanse your crystal. So the fourth way I want to share is to cleanse your crystal is to bury it. So all crystals are minerals. All crystals come from the earth. And one way to cleanse a crystal is to return it to the earth by burying it. And if you do have a yard and you do decide to put your crystals in the ground for a day or two, mark the spot because they do tend to move. But you can bury your crystal in the dirt if you want to, for like a day or, a week or however long you feel is appropriate. The ground is kind of frozen here right now. So if you don't want to bury it in the dirt, you can definitely use a house plant that has dirt in it. You can put your crystals in the dirt to help the crystal ground itself and kind of reestablish its connection with the earth. You can also put your crystal into a bowl of salt. That is another way to do it. So yeah, a little less well known, but you can do it that way too. And the fifth way I want to share about cleaning your crystals or cleansing your crystals is with light. So you've probably heard a lot of teachers talk about putting your crystals or your stones outside underneath the full moon. I think that's a lovely way to reset them. There's a very symbiotic relationship between the earth and the moon. It's sort of beautiful. So you can definitely do that. I do that. I also put my crystals out in the sun because sometimes that just feels right to me too. And especially now with the high photonic light coming from the sun, you can put them out in the sun also to help cleanse and clear them. The sixth way I want to talk about cleansing your crystals is with energy work. So whether you have, learned the technique of Reiki or healing touch, or, you've done work with shamanism, that's also another way to cleanse your crystals. And, you can just pick up a crystal. You can even do this with like prayer, it's just directed intention. Loving intention. And so you can take a crystal, you can put it in your hand and do it that way. You can have it resting on a table and put your hands over it that way. So, don't underestimate the power of the energy work and your intention and direction of your brain, your energy, and your intention with that. And the last way I want to share about cleansing your crystals is to use selenite. So that's actually the piece that I just had. But selenite is a beautiful, beautiful white crystal. And selenite is one of the crystals that really doesn't need to be cleaned because it's just so high vibe. It like vibes with the crown chakra and the chakras above, outside of the body. And when I'm using selenite to cleanse crystals, I'll either take a couple and they'll touch, I'll put them along the sides so they touch the selenite because it just kind of helps reset them. Or I do this a lot after I work with crystals with people. I'll use the sound or use the smudge or one of the other modalities I just shared. And then I'll take a selenite slab, which these are easily found now, and I'll put the crystals on top of it. And it just helps to like cleanse and reset. It's sort of like the reset button. So you can use selenite to cleanse your crystals too, which is super great. I have selenite all over the place. So that's it. I hope that was helpful. in order for you to understand like different ways to cleanse your crystals if you've just got a bunch of them, or if you haven't started working with them yet. This can be very helpful. And if you want to know a little bit more about crystals, you can check out, I have a Crystal 101 class. It's actually a live webinar that I did, I think almost 2 years ago now. And it just has some really great information about crystals. One is how they work, sort of like a little bit of the science behind how crystals work, which is super interesting. How to work with your crystals, because every crystal is unique, like I said before, and so each one has a little bit different personality, if you will. And so, a couple ways to get to know your crystal, and then the top 5 crystals that I think everybody should have. So if you're interested in that class, there's a link in the bio or a link in the comments, depending on where you're watching this, and that can help support your crystal knowledge and how to care for your crystals and how to work with your crystals. So I hope that was helpful. I'd love to hear your favorite way of like how either you work with your crystals or you cleanse your crystals. So, type it up for me to see, and happy to share this with you. So have a fantastic week, and I will see you soon.